Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mic On podcast. I'm Seun Okemaloye. I'm your host on the show. It's been a minute, isn't it? I'm sharing the mic with you all. And this podcast is another effort to get more young Nigerians to speak and participate in political discourse, especially weighing in on issues affecting them. It is independent of my every weekday show, Politics Today, and weekend Sunday Politics on China's television. Former Vice President and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, rekindled the legal battle over President Tinubu's academic records from Chicago in the United States court, with new facts emerging. The released records of October 3rd and details of the deposition coming out same week show that Tinubu's 1979 Chicago State University certificate is submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, was different from the samples of the certificates the university issued to students that same year. This development is coming after over 5 months of fierce legal battle, which saw the Election Petition Tribunal affirming Mr. Tinubu as the legally elected president of Nigeria in the 25th February 2023 election. But how should the president approach this case, which has brought up so many moral and legal questions? Well, the legal battle has not stopped at the trial court, which is a tribunal. It's gone on appeal to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. But how will this all pan out in the end? And that's why tonight we're breaking it down for you, getting all the sides and all the angles so that you can make sense of all of what is happening. A lot of people have been drawing a lot of inference into the fact that if it were in other crimes, what would the president do in that case? Most of the facts of this matter are in public domain. Tonight, we'll put some perspectives to it so that you can have a say. That is what this podcast is all about. Welcome on board, everyone. Let me immediately introduce my guests and speakers tonight on this podcast. I have joining me a member of the Atiku legal team, Mr. Kalu. Kalu is live here in our podcast studio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And I have joining us from Chicago in the United States, a member of the president's legal team who was part of the deposition, he was in the court in Chicago, Mr. Wole Afolabi. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Mr. Afolabi, for joining us. Thank you so much. And there is someone who has also written about this matter, and he's also shared his views on what he thinks and what could have happened or what is happening. He is a media scholar and a writer, Professor Farouk Baragi. He joins us too virtually. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. And let's get the podcast started, everyone. I think I should begin with Mr. Kalu. After Mr. Atiku Abubakar spoke on that day when he gave a press conference in Abuja, he was the one who was called to the podium to give an explanation, and he gave 4 to 5 inference that the Atiku team have been able to draw from the deposition. And let's get a sense of what the Atiku legal team means one more time. Can you summarize for us what you learned from the deposition in Chicago?
It's very simple. It was in English language, not in Latin or in any native language. In that deposition, it was very clear that the certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC was not issued by Chicago State University. It was also clear from the oral deposition that the signatories on the certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC were not in the employ of the school at that material time. Very clear. And this discussion should center around what our law says in respect to submission of forged certificates to INEC and nothing else. Because all this while we've been confusing the Nigerian people on he attended school and he didn't attend school, but we will settle that issue now. And I'm happy that Farouk is online with me in this matter. Because in the past, he said he was certain that he attended that school. He was certain that that certificate belonged to Tinubu. He was certain. Everything he said in, and I responded to him. And he never did a rejoinder to my response to his earlier issue on this matter. And today, when I was on social media, I saw him calling me names. Today, I'm happy that we are together on this platform, so as we settle it once and for all on his assertions. The issue is very clear. Let us discuss the issue of the certificate Tinubu submitted. Was it from Chicago State University? If it was not from Chicago State University, what was the intention of Tinubu when submitting it? Did they submit it to be accepted as the true and correct certificate issued by a known school? Then if it is, then what is it again? It is pure forgery. Pure forgery. In certain decisions of the Supreme Court even said by stating falsely or falsehood on the INEC EC 09, which candidates submit to INEC, that once there is a false information on that certificate, that is forgery. That's a decided authority by the Supreme Court. Not one, not two.
So, you're going to tell us all the 5 elements of what you are able to draw out, what you learn as a legal team, and you perhaps, because Mr. Atiku Abubakar has made it clear that the legal team are taking those information and those evidence up to the Supreme Court. So conclude those 5 elements of those information that you gleaned from the deposition for us tonight.
So let us not confuse Nigerians the more. The case of Atiku Abubakar is very straight and simple. That Tinubu submitted a forged certificate to INEC. And what is a certificate? From what we have from INEC, which Tinubu himself at Chatham House last year said, I had collected original replacement certificate from Chicago State University. And in all the other depositions, there was no such thing. In all, they are here with me. Let them say there was or there is. No. Then where did Tinubu get that certificate from? So if it is not from Chicago State University, then where did they get it from? That is what our law requires. So as long as
you've gotten enough information to go to the Supreme Court.
That's all we need to prove our case.
Have you appealed the case in the Supreme Court?
Yes, it has been filed.
Okay. All right.
It has been filed.
Let me bring in Wale Afolabi. He was at the deposition, and give us an understanding, if you can quickly summarize for us, what do we need to know in all of this info? A lot of these information are in the public space anyways, but what new thing that you think that we need to know as far as this is concerned?
Thank you so much, Mr. Okimbaloye. I am so grateful that Mr. Farouk, who is a professor in the U.S. institution, is on this program. So he is, I would assume, as an unbiased umpire, be in a position to correct the information, a lot of it which is being thrown out there. And Mr. Okimbaloye, this simply comes down to a clash of cultures. That is what is going on here. You see, someone from a purely Nigerian background, with due respect, may not likely know precisely what transpired. I will throw light on what actually happened. Now, here, as has been said so many times, including by the deponent, Mr. Westbury, a diploma is a mere ceremonial document. No one attaches any importance to it. Now, I've stated it before, I'll say it again. My older son graduated from an American university. He works as an engineer in New York City. He has not picked up his diploma because there's no need for it. He got his job, his trust. No one attaches any importance whatsoever to a diploma. Now, here's the deal. A diploma, you can apply for a diploma to be reordered as many times as you want. The only requirement is that you pay the process fee. Now, President Tinubu never said that what I gave to INEC was given to me in 1979. Let's get that straight very quickly. What is important is that, number one, he graduated, and number two, the three people who signed on to his diploma never came out, or neither was any indication given that the three of them were not employed by the institution at the same time. If that had been the case, then that could be a problem. But that has not been the case. The university came out and said he graduated. The university came out and said that what was submitted to INEC was issued by the school. So there's no inconsistencies there, none whatsoever. And what was even more, the university said that we don't keep a copy of your application to reorder, and we don't keep a copy of the certificate that you have picked up. So what that simply means is that you can reorder as many times as you want, and once you pick them up, it vanishes into thin air. We have no record of it. We only have records of the certificates that were not picked up, the diplomas that were not picked up by the student. And that is exactly what happened here. The version that was not picked up by Mr. Tinubu, that was what was given to Mr. Inauro Eber. So had it been that President Tinubu had picked that one up as well, there would have been no record of any diploma at all that would have been with the university. So it's a clash of culture, and I say that with respect. You don't speak to what you don't know with respect. Leave it to people who really know about it. There is no forgery here whatsoever. There couldn't have been. There could not have been. None. So the mistake that some people are making in some areas is that, the two certificates that are being put out there, were signed by different people. Yes, that's how it works. It is people who were there at the time that the application was made that would sign. But be that as it may, the year of graduation will remain the same, which in the case of President Tinubu is 1979. Now, if Mr. Alhaji Atiku's lawyers had been able to establish through the school that the president did not graduate from the school, that would be the issue. That would be the bigger deal. But they came forward to say not only did he graduate, but he was an honor student. He did very well. And they also testified on oath.
Yeah, yes. But in any of the deposition, was there any place where it was clearly stated that he graduated?
Absolutely. Times and times and times and times again.
All right. Can you then clarify to us part of the document and the evidence and some of the evidence that are being provided, of which I will make reference to, the fact that there was an outstanding course which was prerequisite to the admission into that course, and English 222 was not met, and therefore there couldn't have been a graduation. There are those who say there are facts to the fact that he attended there are no enough fact that he graduated because he had an outstanding prerequisite course. What can you tell us about that?
Thank you so much, Mr. Akimbalo. Right now, the deposition of Mr. Caleb Westberg, which was taken on October 3rd, 2023, is out for everyone who cares to have a look at, that has access to. So don't believe me because I'm saying this, but believe me because the record reflects it. Now, if you turn to page 41 of the deposition of Mr. Westberg, now, line 3, I would take what the question was, and CSU has no basis that the INEC diploma was issued by CSU, correct? Answer. The student in question, this is from CSU, under oath. No one will lie on oath for you in America. Mr. Farouk knows this. Nobody goes to jail for anybody at all. The penalty, if you lie on oath, is perjury, and you go to jail. This was what he had to say. The student in question graduated from the university in June 22nd, 1979. This is on oath. Everybody can take a look. Page 41. It's right there. So what more do you expect the university to say?
So, but I'm asking now,
Yes.
what do you have to say to some of the documents which show that a prerequisite course, English, was not met wasn't passed, and therefore there is a reference that he had to get that passed to conclude the program at the CSU?
This is what I have to say. CSU is the awarding institution. It's only CSU that is conferred with the powers to award a degree. Whatever anybody has to say, this is old wives' tales. That's what it is. It's bare parlor gossip. What matters is what the school has to say. The school said he graduated. That is all that matters. That is nobody else. There's nobody who has the standing to come forward and say he should have passed this, he should have passed this, he should have done this, he should have done that. No, you see, that's one of the reasons why FEPRA is in place. Is to protect all these old wives' tales. These are uncalled for and unnecessary. These are mere distractions. If the school comes forward, the school is the awarding institution. It's only the school who can definitively make a pronouncement on this. And the school did severally, including twice under oath. Twice under oath. The school said he graduated.
Yeah, so give us an understanding of the discrepancy or the difference in the document that was provided, submitted to Mr. Eber, and the one that provided by CSU compared to the one that was provided to INEC by the president.
Exactly. I have hinted on that earlier. Now, the two documents, one says that he graduated June 27, 1979, and the other one says he graduated June 22nd, 1979. Now, under oath, the school came forward to say that it was a typographical error on their part, that he in fact graduated on the 27th of June, 1979. That's not an issue. Now, the difference, number one, the signatories, the people who signed it, and I've explained that earlier. You see, it is those who are in a position to authenticate, to sign on to an official record at the time that an application is made, who would sign. And that's why those who signed the version issued to Mr. Nauru Eber are different from those who signed the version that the president submitted to INEC, because the applications were made at different times and different people were authorized to sign, and they did. That's it. That is how it works. That is how it works. I mean, like as I told you, my son graduated from school here. At the time that he graduated, I don't know those who were in the position to sign. But if he applies today, it is those who are occupying the respective positions that will sign. But they will also indicate that he graduated the year that he did. That would never change. That would never change.
But how come the argument that the officials whose signatories are on that document were not officials of that school at the material time?
If I may ask you this question, I'm so sorry that I have to do so. What is the material time?
So can I?
All right, so let me allow Mr. Kalu to. It seems he has some rebuttal.
Afolabi has the deposition with him there.
Yeah.
Let him read.
Am I part of this conversation?
Yeah, just come a moment, Prof. I'm coming to you just in a moment. Prof,
because Kalu had made points about what I had said, yeah, and I thought you would give me a chance to respond.
No, Prof, I was going
now you are going back and forth. If I'm not needed in this conversation, let me know.
No, Prof, I was going to give you your own enough time. He just wanted to rebut a matter that was raised by Mr. Falabi. I just wanted to give him a moment.
I thought we were going to have a dialogue.
Yes, absolutely. Just give me one moment, please. Go ahead.
He has the oral deposition with him there. Let him read one line where the school, under oath, deposed that the certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC was issued by that school. One. Let him also read from that oral deposition he has a line or a paragraph where the school deposed that the signatories on the documents or the certificates Tinubu submitted to INEC were in the employ of the school at that material time. Let him, just 2 lines.
He said, what's the material time?
At the time the certificate was issued to Tinubu.
Okay.
Then the third one is the certificate.
When was that?
When? What year? Is it 79
exactly,
or in 2002 in 2023 when he gave it to INEC?
He has to say it, not me.
All right.
Because Tinubu said,
just give me a moment.
Said, hold on. Tinubu said, I collected it. In Chatham House, he said, I have collected my original replacement certificate from Chicago State University. Let him answer. The signatories on Tinubu certificates, were they in the employ of the school as at 1979? Were they in the employ of the school as at any time he said he collected it? Let him respond.
Mr. Kalu, give me a moment and I'll allow you to respond, Mr. Afolabi. But let me bring Prof in. Prof had written and he had spoken about this matter. He's a professor in an American university. So he will give us an understanding of what operates or what is obtainable. Prof, what's your take?
Well, first of all, my brother Kalu, I never insulted you. Not once, not anywhere else. In my writing, in my interventions on television, and I apologize to you if you understand what I said as an insult. I don't insult people who have never offended me. And also, I did not read your response to my article. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm going to look for it now, but I was not aware that you ever wrote anything in response to anything I had ever written. So, but what I pointed out in the article that you misconstrued as an insult was your insistence that because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as we now call him, ticked the box Black American amongst the racial category, the options for racial categories that were given to him. So that was not an indication that he was impersonating an African American or that he called himself an African American. And as Mr. Afolabi had said earlier, a lot of these issues are coming to fore as a consequence of clash of cultures, clash of traditions. In the United States, as I said, there's an obsession with race. Just like in Nigeria, there's an obsession with ethnicity. So in Nigerian forms, you are asked for your state of origin, you are asked for your ethnic identity, and things like that. In the United States, it's the same thing. In all official forms, you are asked to indicate your racial category. A lot of Africans, when they come here, before I became a citizen, and I've been here for close to 20 years, they would indicate Black American or Black and African American, and all the categories. And I say, the one that approximates my identity is Black American. And I'll tick that. You know, there's the option to say other and then explain myself, but they have improved those identifications over time. The current census, the current census data in record now allows us to indicate, after saying Black American or African American, to also indicate which of the nationalities in Africa you represent. That was the first time in US Census that has happened. And I recall going out of my way to alert diaspora Nigerians around here to don't just say African and Black American. There's an option to narrow down your identity, and amongst the options is Nigerian American. And I recall sending several emails and making phone calls to colleagues to make sure that our identity as Nigerians in America is captured, so that we have a numerical sense of how many we are here. So at the time Tinubu applied, the racial categories were Black American, Alaskan American, White American, Eurasian American, and he was asked to pick one. So he chose one, and that was Black American. Your understanding of what he did is defensible, to be fair to you, because you are from Nigeria, and those categories are alien to you. I would have expected, though, that you asked people in America, what does that mean? Why did he tick Black American? Did that mean that he identified as Black American? Anyone who has lived in the US for even 3 years will tell you no. That meant that was the race he identified with amongst the options, and that made sense. That was all I pointed out. I did not mean to insult you. If that caused you to feel insulted, I apologize. But again, the diploma is a ceremonial document. It's a decorative document. It's not the legal symbolic marker of authenticity. That's the point that a lot of people in Nigeria have a hard time wrapping their heads around. And I'm glad that this conversation is taking place, because now it's going to force us to insist that people who claim to have graduated from US universities produce their transcripts, because that's the only way you prove the authenticity of your claims, transcripts. And I just had, before this conversation, I had a talk with a Nigerian American. She was born and raised here, and she's now in Kano. Marriage took her back to Nigeria, and she was telling me about people who attended schools with her who did not graduate, got some diplomas, and are working in Nigeria. And she knew that they did not graduate because Nigerian institutions don't insist on transcripts. And anyone can get a diploma from anywhere, but the transcripts have to come directly from the university. And now they don't even have to be physically in the United States to ask that their transcript be sent. So and I told her that after this whole hoopla is over, I'll do an article and make it mandatory, or encourage institutions, organizations, governments to insist that people who claim to have graduated from US universities produce transcripts, not diplomas or what we call certificates in Nigeria. So this is the class of culture we're talking about here. You cannot legally tell someone who has been legally proven to have graduated from an institution that they have forged a document, a ceremonial document with no legal power, with no legal powers that they have, you know. So that's the point I made in my intervention this Saturday, that I have satisfied my own curiosity by going out of my way to reach out to professors, Nigerian professors who teach at Chicago State University. That was last year. And wanted to verify the accuracy of the claim that Bola Tinubu graduated from the university. And this professor went out of our way, went to the registrar's office and got a statement for me, which I published. At the time I published it, I said, a Bola Tinubu graduated, because I hadn't established that Bola Tinubu was the person we now know today as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because the A has always been abbreviated. However, when I saw the yearbook photo, the 1979 yearbook photo, and I saw a clearly, unmistakably younger Bola Tinubu, I said, well, that seems very likely that it's that same Bola Tinubu that graduated. Of course, there was a problem. His last name was misspelled. And as you saw from the Southwest College transcript, there were a lot of typographical errors. And any African who has lived here will tell you that the Western culture has problems with our names. When I place orders, in Walmart or, all the fast food restaurants here through drive-through, I don't even tell them my name. I give them my son's name, Adam, because Adam is a universal name. Jews bear it, Christians bear it, Muslims bear it. Even my wife, when she places orders, she says Adam, because when she spells Maureen, her name, although Maureen is an American name, because she has a little bit of a Nigerian accent, her mom is American, and she sounds more American than I do. A typical Nigerian will call her accent American, but there's some Nigerian in it because she did some part of her growing up in Nigeria. And of course, speaking with me all the time has affected her Nigerian her accent. It's very, it's a little bit Nigerian. So when she places the order and says Maureen, they misspell it just because of the accent. So and then of course our handwritings are different. I always have to write, even when you do uppercase letters in your writings, they will still miss it. So when I saw Tinubu spelled as Thubv, I knew that, in the yearbook photo, I knew that was the name he gave his name as Tinubu, but it was misspelled as such. And so I came to that conclusion. And I didn't do that lightly. Plus, after these documents were released to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, I looked at his signatures and his writing as a student of CSU, and I saw the letter he wrote authorizing Mr. Afolabi to get documents for him, and I said, that's the same person. So if the writings are consistent from the 70s to now, that's an indication for me that it's the same person who went to that school that is now called President Bola Tinubu. And I was focused narrowly on that and nothing more. My interest in this, as anyone who has followed my writing, is just to get at the root of the truth. I have no partisan affiliation with anyone. In fact, if anything, my writings have been cumulatively very injurious to the reputation of Bola Tinubu. And I think Sheon will probably testify to that, because it appears that he reads my writings. So I really have no personal investment in this. I don't care who is president of Nigeria and who isn't, to tell the truth. And I've made that very clear in my writings, because as far as I'm concerned, all the major presidential candidates have the same economic policies, which I disagree with. And so I really don't know where this is coming from. So it's a cultural thing.
All right.
And I understand where that is coming from.
All right.
I think we should.
Let me jump in quickly. Now, in all of the discrepancies that have been found out, what do you make of it in respect of the allegations, or the fact that the PDP is drawing to the extent that there is some kind of forgery?
Yeah, and that's the argument that I made, that you talk of forgery only where someone makes a claim that is untrue to advance an interest, to get an advantage. So we have the registrar of Chicago State University has said under oath many times that Tinubu actually did graduate from the university. Now, he was pressed with several questions about the gender identity of the person who submitted a transcript from Southwest College, which is now Daly College. And he still insisted that was the same person, that they were satisfied. So in law, legally speaking, he is a graduate of Chicago State University, unless other facts have now come to change everything we know. So getting a certificate, again, remember this, and I want people to not lose sight of this fact. The diploma is a ceremonial document. That's why you do not find any indication of diploma that an alteration renders it invalid. It doesn't say that. My Bayero University Kano diploma, or what we call certificate in Nigeria, has it there that any alteration renders it invalid because it's an official document to authenticate my graduation from that school. And so university has all of its emblems and all of that.
But Prof, does he explain the differentials, the differences rather, between the one submitted to INEC and one produced by the school?
Yeah, I think so. For me, and that's why if you read my article, and this is where I differ with Mr. Afolabi, I think that what he submitted did not come from Chicago State University. That's what I'm convinced about. And I think at best, it's a lapse in ethical judgment. It's unethical, but I'm not a lawyer. I don't see that as illegal. And I say, for me, what I would consider illegal is if he had changed or forged his transcript to give himself grades that he didn't earn. That would be giving him some advantage because that would indicate that he's way smarter or was more hardworking as a student than he really was.
But
even if he did graduate from there.
But is that is that an explanation for you to go and okay? So I'll ask this question as a second question to this one. Now, are there possibilities that in the United States, third parties are used to produce diplomas, certificates?
That some parties are used to
third parties. Is it a practice in the United States that third parties other than the school will produce a certificate or a diploma to graduates?
Yeah, well, every institution in the United States, including Harvard, Princeton, Yale, the Ivy Leagues, they do not print their own diplomas or even transcripts by their own. They contract that to third-party vendors. That's what happens. But you have to do it through their website. I just recently applied for the transcripts of my 2 transcripts for something, and I realized that there's a third-party vendor. I forget the name now, where I enter my social security number and all my identifying information. It was sent to the university that verified that, yeah, indeed, I graduated from there. And then they issued the transcript directly to the institutions I wanted it sent to. So yes, third-party vendors are the people who take care of diplomas and transcripts. Universities do not directly do that now. If they did it in the past, they no longer do that now because they want to invest their time to research and other things. So they're not in the business of printing, they give it to third parties.
Okay. So
now the other question is,
yeah.
My own sense is that, and Mr. Afolabi can correct me if, can bring alternative or other facts if that is that he got his diploma from a third-party vendor that was not associated with Chicago State University. And that is unethical from my perspective. But is it illegal? No, because he actually did graduate from there. So it's like...
Yeah. So, and I'd like to ask you, morally speaking and legally speaking, of course, because if you now tender a document before a document that is tendered through an affidavit, you're saying basically that this document is legal, it's appropriate, and it's authentic. Could there be any explanation to the fact that there is a tendering of a certificate of a diploma to INEC when the president himself had said, I now have received my original document? He said that at the Chatham House in London, that I have now received the authentic and the originals of my certificate from CSU. Could there be any explanation to the fact that he had now gone to receive another copy other than the one produced by CSU? Because as you have said, established that the one that was given to INEC was not released or published or given given out by CSU itself.
Again, this is the class of cultures I'm talking about. The diploma is no more important than the academic gown. So if I take the academic gown of my institution, because every institution has its own academic gown that is designed and all of its colors and the way the stripes are designed and written. So if I wear an academic gown, or I tell someone that this academic gown is actually from my school, even when it's not, does that invalidate my degree, my qualification? It doesn't. Because so the academic gown is no more, the diploma is no more important than the academic gown. It's a ceremonial document. It's a decorative document. If what Tinubu presented to INEC were the transcript, and they had all this, he gave a fake transcript that did not indicate that he graduated, that would be an issue. But this diploma, as I'm telling you, is the class of culture thing. It's not that important that legal investments are made into it. It's not, because what is important for me is that he graduated from that institution, and the registrar said under oath that he did. The certificate he used to verify that. In the US, you use the transcript to verify attendance, not the diploma, because the diplomas are not that important. They are ceremonial documents. And I keep saying ceremonial document all the time, because that's not really a big issue. But I understand where, the fixation with that document, because in Nigeria, that's what it is. Maybe in the UK, it is as well. But in the US, that's not a big deal. In fact, one of my colleagues called me yesterday when he read something, and he said, so someone is going to court because of a diploma, the design and whatever of a diploma? And I said, yes. And for him, it was funny, but I tried to explain to him why it's not funny in Nigeria, because in our own cultures, that's different. But for an American perspective, it's like someone fighting over an academic gown, the design of an academic gown of an institution. That's what it is like. And all I tried to do was to tell people that you should do a contrast of context, contrast of cultures to make sense of what's going on. Because no one in the US would ever be taken to court for presenting an unauthorized diploma of an institution that they actually graduated from. No such thing will ever happen here. And since the validity of Tinubu's qualification to run for office, which is the CS degree, comes from the US, we cannot use Nigerian standards to measure that validity. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah.
If, for instance, you are from a matrilineal society where people trace descent through their mothers, not through their fathers, but then being citizen of that matrilineal society qualifies you to be a king in another culture, and then you present a father that is not really your father, and that culture is a patrilineal society, and they are saying that father is not your father, but the source of your legitimacy is not your father, it's your mother, is the fact that you are a citizen of a country that is matrilineal. So you go to that matrilineal country and say, he presented a false father. They might say, oh yeah, that's a false father, but that's not the basis of his legitimacy. That's not the basis of his citizenship. That's not the basis of his descent. The basis of his descent is that his mother is from here. So where his father is from is not really important to us, because that's not where he derives his legitimacy from. So the legitimacy of Tinubu's graduation is from his transcript. And the university said he graduated from there. That diploma is just one of the many paraphernalia, the ceremonial paraphernalia that people get. There's graduation ceremony, there is the academic gown, there's the cap, we have the diploma, but they are not legal instruments to authenticate graduation.
All right.
So the obsession with this one of this ceremonial document is very befuddling for Americans.
All right.
And it's befuddling for me, because I come from both cultures. I've been here for almost 20 years. So I sort of have...
It allows you to understand how this works.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Give me a moment, Prof. And we're going to get to this in a moment. I'm seeing before me the motion that the Atiku and the PDP has filed before the Supreme Court, and now they are they're appealing to the Supreme Court, praying to adduce a fresh evidence before the Supreme Court, which we are going to get into that. But you are raising a matter which you're saying to Mr. Afolabi, which you will like him to answer. Do you like him to answer to those three questions you raised? Then you respond to him. Is that okay?
So that so that I can do a joint response.
Okay.
I just want to raise two issues
Okay.
to Farouk, so that once I have his perspective on those issues, and from Afolabi, I can then make a joint response. Mr. Farouk or Professor Farouk, from yours as a professor in US, what's your take on the claim by Tinubu that he attended Government College Lagos and graduated in 1970, when in fact that school was not in existence as at that material time? What's your take as a professor in a university? Can you say in good conscience that a man who gained admission under misrepresentation or submission of documents that did not exist and was given admission, that admission will qualify him to be taken as a graduate of that school? Can you in good conscience tell us your perspective as to the misinformation on that form which you referred me to? That's one. Two, what's the essence of certificate as a professor? Leave the issue of America climb Nigerian society. Leave that issue. Let us know what a certificate entails.
All right. So
these are the two issues that I can respond
quickly. Yeah,
on whatever response you're going to give.
Yeah.
Yes, Barrister Kalu, if you actually read my current column, which you appear to have done, you would see that I raised that issue, and I pointed it out in two articles, actually. The first, I said, I pointed out that he claimed to have attended Government College Lagos that did not exist. That, for me, I said, signposted forgery. And I said that that's low-hanging fruit for your team, and that's actually where the smoking gun is, not Chicago State University, because the Government College Lagos did not exist. And the GC A-levels result that he presented, there are numbers there. You can write to Cambridge University that administered the exam and say, who is the person that actually took this exam? Oh, because they fill out information, their gender is there and all of that information. You can actually get more information from that than what you just did with Chicago State University, because all you did with it, frankly, from my perspective, is to prove that he graduated from Chicago State University. But the smoking gun is the high school. So yes, I believe that if it has been established that that certificate does not belong to him, that constitutes grounds to have his admission to Southwest College, which is now Daly College, rescinded. And that can also precipitate the invalidation of his Chicago State University graduation. So yes, on that, we are on the same page. I have no questions about that. And that's where I think the real issue is, not his Chicago State University graduation. What was the second question again? I don't know.
The second question is, what does a certificate entail?
Well, the certificate entails different things in different cultures.
I mean, in Nigeria. I mean in Nigeria. I don't mean in US. I mean in Nigeria. Yes,
well, because the certificate in Nigeria, it's a document to authenticate your graduation from an institution. In the US, we don't call it certificate, we call it diploma. The certificate means completely different thing here. And so that's where I say there's a lot of cultural, issues involved. When we say certificate here, it's a qualification you are obtained in the process of trying to get your degree. It's like a minor, except that you take more courses, and then you get a certificate in that discipline. For instance, in my field, in my school, students get a bachelor's degree in journalism, and they can get a certificate in multi-platform reporting. That means they take a couple of other courses, and then when I say, okay, there's a certificate, we don't give a physical copy of the certificate, but it's indicated in their transcript that apart from getting a bachelor's degree in journalism, they also have a certificate in multi-platform news reporting. That's what we call a certificate here. So for that, there's no paper. It's just in the transcripts. There's no separate paper. And it's not even indicated in your diploma that you have a bachelor's degree and a certificate in so and so, because employers don't use your diploma. So that's why I'm going back and forth between diploma and certificate. Employers don't use it. If you want to get a job, say CNN, I want to show them that you have, in addition to your bachelor's degree, some skills in multi-platform news reporting. You show your transcript, because the transcript shows that. So CNN will never ask you, Mr. Kalu, you want to work for us? So let's see your certificate or what diploma. No, they're not going to ask for that. They're going to ask for a transcript directly from your institution, not from you. So it means completely different things. In Nigeria, the certificate, what we call diploma here, is a symbolic marker of the fact that you graduated from that institution. Here, it may mean that, but that's not
Prof,
in the legal sense.
Prof, let me come in, because you have made your point very clear.
Yes.
Shehu, if you allow me, let me, in 1 minute, respond. 1 minute, I won't take more than 1 minute to respond to the two issues that Prof I raised for Prof's response. Prof, on the issue of that Tinubu claimed that he graduated from Government College, Lagos in 1970, when indeed that school was not in existence. Prof, you know, because I know you are a
Mr. Okibaloye, sorry,
Mr. Falabi, apologies. I'm coming to you.
Have you seeded your platform?
No. Just hold on a moment. Just hold on a moment.
This is fast becoming a train crash, obviously. It's going way off course. This was not what we were brought to discuss.
Mr. Falabi,
this is propaganda.
Just give us a moment.
Allowed to frame the trajectory that things should trend towards. No, this is wrong of him to do. He's had his opportunity.
Mr. Falabi,
he's having multiple bites at the apple.
Absolutely. I will.
He's coming and recalibrating
Mr. Falabi, if you give a moment,
he shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yeah. So, Mr. Falabi, hold on 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Hold on one minute. I'm giving room.
Take control.
Just a moment. I'm giving room to all the discussant to be able to ventilate their views on this, and in the best manner which we can do it, so that people can have a sense of what we are talking about. But Mr. Kalu, you asked for 1 minute. Go ahead and exercise that 1 minute, because we need to move on quickly. You're not the only one on this podcast.
More than 1 minute.
Please go ahead.
I commend Prof for, first of all, accepting that there is a smoking gun on the issue of the certificate Tinubu, or the school Tinubu claimed he graduated from, when indeed that school was not in existence at that time. Prof, there is no need going back to the college to find out whether how do I say it again? Okay, there's no need going back to Southwest College. If it has been established, which you said it is, Chicago, what that means in law is that you cannot place something on nothing and expect it to stand. It's been there. Even a layman understands it. So if the foundation upon which Tinubu got his admission into Chicago State University is faulty, what it means in law is that everything on that certificate is also faulty. That is it.
Have you had a submission?
That's one.
Because just for a moment, because you're not the only one, and I don't want to be accused of being unfair, because I actually wanted you to have a say, because you add rebuttals to whatever Mr. Falabi and Professor Forgery is saying. That's why I've allowed you. But let me bring him back, Mr. Afolabi. You heard what Mr. Kalu said. He raised some poses to you, which I would like you to give some clarity onto, based on what you experienced in the court, what you know about the records of Mr. Tinubu, and what the deponents said at the deposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okibaloye. with all sense of modesty, like Mr. Kalu, I am licensed as an attorney in Nigeria. I was called to the Nigerian bar in 1993. Like Professor Farouk, I was a professor in an American university. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but unlike the two of them, I have raised a child who attended a university in America and who now works. And I have two who are currently attending universities in America. And in addition to that, I am licensed to practice law in America, and I participated in every step of these proceedings. So with due respect, I think I'm uniquely qualified to speak on issues of law that relate to this matter than the two of them can, with respect. Now, Mr. Kalu, honestly, I don't know precisely what he's getting at. But Prof, I get his position. He expressed his position on one issue, and on the other issue, he took a position different from mine, which is perfectly okay. But I do disagree with Prof in saying that this diploma that was submitted to INEC was forged. With respect, sir, this is a legal issue, and legal issues are backed up by facts and law. With due respect, there is nothing out there to support the proposition that what was submitted by the president, even though ceremonial, to INEC was forged. Absolutely not. I have raised a poser, which has not been answered. And the poser simply is that in America, as Prof knows, you can apply for a certificate to be reordered as many times as you want. The only prerequisite is that you pay the application fee. Once that is done, they will issue it as many times as you want. Now, once that is done and you pick it up, it goes into thin air. The university cannot account for it. The university is not in a position to account for it. Now, it could have been tracked easily if a copy of the application with which you brought, you asked that it be ordered, that it be reordered, if the application form is kept, then you can look at the record and say, oh, it's only one time that you applied that we should reorder this diploma. The university came out and said, no, we don't keep records of those. Then if the situation were such that copies of every single diploma that is sent out is kept, then you can say, we have no copy of this. What you submitted does not match what we have on our files. The school came out and said, it is not our practice to keep what we've sent out because to us it is useless. We only keep what was not picked up. The school further came forward to say that when you apply for a reorder of your diploma, the information that is stated there is same as what should have gone on your original diploma. But the people who signed will be different. Why? Because those who signed originally, they are no longer with us. They have left. So it is those who are here with us that get to sign. So now if you can apply as many times, who is doing the counting here? Who can come out definitively and say that President Tinubu only ordered or reordered his diploma a certain number of times? If you're a lawyer, you certainly can say that. Nobody will listen to you. Nobody will listen to you. You can't speak to what does not exist. This school said we don't have it. They don't have it. They don't have it. So what is it? So going by that, what would have made sense was to say that the names, the people who signed this diploma certificate that was submitted to INEC could not have conceivably signed. Why? Because the three of them were not at this institution at the same time. That is what we call proof beyond reasonable doubt. You don't leave any doubt. You have left it out. In as much as you have not brought someone to say that it's inconceivable for the three of us to sign, because at no point in time did our employment overlap, then you'll be talking. That is a narrow issue. The very, very, very narrow issue is, could this have been the case based on what the university said? Yes, it could very well have been the case. And it was for Alhaji Abubakar's high-priced lawyers, well-paid lawyers, to have demonstrated in open court, which he had the opportunity to do, not once, not twice. He had the opportunity to do that, to have the man say that could these three people have conceivably signed this document? They did not bring it up. Do you think they're stupid? They're not. Because they know that if they asked and there was a definitive pronouncement on that, what are they going to report back?
Mr. Afolabi, Mr. Afolabi, let me jump in quickly and ask you. There was a fundamental question that was raised about the high school or the secondary school education of Mr. Tinubu. And as the record has shown, the school or the college in which, the secondary school in which he said he has attended, records refer to the fact that he was put on record to have been attended in 1970. And the facts show that that school actually came into existence in 1974. What do you have to say to that?
Now, what I have to say very simply is this. Look, lawyers act based on the briefs that they get. My brief was go and defend this deposition. And that was exactly all that I did. All my mandate was, did he attend the school? CSU. Did he graduate from CSU? The document that was submitted to INEC, was it forged or was it not? And I think we did a fair job in that regard. That was my mandate, and I carried it out the best that I could.
I'd like to ask you this one question, because there is a fundamental question I'd like to raise before I ask for the final thought of the discussant, and then get our viewers and listeners to weigh in on this matter. And the question would be, all the discrepancy, the differences that are being drawn into this is not the first time. You remember, the late Ganifa Emi has raised this issue. There are all those people who had already raised this issue, this matter, several other times. Could there be a possibility that there are maybe innocent, let's give a benefit of the doubt, innocent errors, innocent indiscretion, innocent omissions in the records of your principal, Mr. Tinubu?
You know, as far as I know, as I said, all of a lawyer is guided by the brief that he was given. The brief that I was given, I had discharged, and I did my job. Now, as far as the other issues that you raised, I am not in a position to speak to those. It is those who are more seized of all of this information that could speak on them. My job was as a lawyer. I did not come here, or indeed make an appearance in court as a political spokesperson of the president or an image maker of the president. No. My job was and still remains that of a lawyer. So any question as regards the issue of law, yes, I'm here to speak about. But anything outside of that, it will amount to malpractice, I would say, of my part, to speak on a matter that I was not retained to speak on. That's all I have to say.
All right. Just give me a moment, because now I know, and it's in the public domain now, that Mr. Atiku has filed his appeal to the Supreme Court. And part of what came out of Chicago State University have now been included. I just want the lawyers to weigh in quickly on that. And part of it stated in that appeal stated that the evidence required to establish that the certificate presented by the second respondent to the first respondent in support of his qualification to contest the said election is a deposition from the Chicago State University, which deposition did not become available until after the determination of the case by the lower court. The said evidence is now available and forwarded to this honorable court. The other paragraph following that says, we submit that the appellants or application have successfully explained the delay and difficulties in obtaining the said evidence earlier than now, and all the necessary steps taken to obtain the evidence and to present same to this honorable court. Further, the appeal of the PDP and Atiku Abubakar went further to say, we submit that a successful proof of the said allegation will render the second respondent unqualified to have contested the said election ab initio for presentation of forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) pursuant to the provisions of Section 137, subsection 1J of the Constitution. Being a weighty matter of constitutional importance, the Supreme Court had the opportunity in the case of Saleh versus Abba and others, page 1 at 28, to declare in respect of situation as follows. That, Mr. Kalu, I'd like to get your view on that. That is a position of the PDP and Mr. Atiku's lawyer to the Supreme Court.
That's true.
All right. Mr. Afolabi, what's your view on that? On that their position? Because it came from the deposition.
There are three conceivable scenarios out of this. Number one would be the provisions of the Electoral Act, the first schedule, the Electoral Act. I believe it's paragraph 4, sub 5, sub C of the Electoral Act, which states specifically that in an election petition matter, at the time that you present your petition, that is when you file along with it. Within 21 days of the accrual of the cause of action, you file along with it your witness statement on oath, and you maintain a list of documents that you tend to rely on to prove your case. Now, was that done in this case? Absolutely not. It was not done. The Supreme Court has held multiple times that election petition matters are what they call sui generis. That is, they are very unique. They are in a world of their own, and they are guided by specific rules. In this case, the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act says, once you don't do it, you don't do it. You are out, you're out. So that is the first scenario, if they go strictly by that. And I'm not going to preempt what my lords are going to decide on, but I'm just presenting scenarios to you. That's the first one. The second scenario would be going by general civil appeal, assuming you're coming on by general civil appeal. Yes, you can introduce fresh evidence on appeal, but there are conditions. And one of the conditions would be that you have to establish before the court that the evidence that you're trying to introduce now, the fresh evidence, was at the time of the institution of your action unavailable. Now, could that argument be preferred in this instance? President Tinubu submitted his diploma to INEC June 2002. Elections were held February 2023. Alhaji Abubakar presented his petition March 2023. Alhaji Abubakar approached the U.S. District Court August 2023. Now, can that argument, can it be made? Then number two, you have to point the court in the direction whereby it shows that the evidence that you are trying to introduce, if allowed to be brought in, will be helpful to your case. Now, how can that be done in this instance? Number one, in the petition, it's out there, it's public document, it's filed, it's public document. There is not a single mention of CSU. Not a single mention of CSU. CSU was not mentioned. There was no allegation in there that it was for the diploma submitted to INEC was forged. Now, the law, as regards practice, is very straightforward. You must present what you intend to rely on in your pleadings. Parties are bound by your pleadings. So in this instance, the pleadings are woefully defective on that score. So you cannot tell the court that, my lords, oh, this evidence, if it's allowed to be brought in, it will be used to prove this. If you look at the petition was grounded on four reasons. They brought up 25%, the President Tinubu not winning 25% of the vote cast in Abuja. They talk about the fact that the results declared by INEC were not uploaded instantly, IREM, and then also that there were irregularities. And then D, they said that the president was not qualified. Now, if you look at their witness statement of oath attached to the petition, they had witnesses who came forward to testify to A, B, C, nothing on D. In law, that is called abandonment. You have abandoned that leg of the pleadings. You are gone. You are never going to be allowed to bring it there. So, and then finally, I may quickly bring in this point very quickly, please. Now, under the Electoral Act, again, number one, you have to file your notice of appeal within a certain number of days after the delivery of judgment, which you did. You must transmit record within 10 days after the filing of notice, which you did. Then you must file your appellant's brief within 7 days, which you did. Then the respondent will file their brief within 5 days, which I believe our people will do if they have not done, they're in the process of doing. And then the appellant will have 3 days to file their reply. Now, once that is done, the Supreme Court, based on the laws and the various decisions, the Supreme Court does not have the powers to extend the time within which you can amend any of these processes. So, assuming worst case scenario, this is even granted, how are they going to bring it in? Now, let's now go to what could potentially be the best case scenario for them. This evidence is allowed in. Of what probative value? Even though it's a civil matter, once you make allegations of crime, the standard of proof now goes from balance of probabilities to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Now, can anybody say that what has been bandied about in the press for some time, prove beyond reasonable doubt that the diploma submitted to INEC was forged? So when you make allegations of forgery, not only must you explicitly say this is forgery, you must plead particulars of forgery. Was that done in this instance? If you did not plead particulars of forgery, would you be allowed to now say these are the instances? In this instance, there's nothing. This is like, I mean, it's the wild goose chase. I'm sorry to say, but this is a journey to no destination, unfortunately. That's my take.
All right.
Thank you.
So because we need to wrap up quickly, get the views of those who are listening and who are willing to speak on this podcast, but I'd like to get Professor Kperogi's view quickly on the implications of all of these. I know you're not a lawyer, but looking at what is happening, these allegations and these issues brought by Mr. Atiku Abubakar and this debate over President Tinubu's records and all of that, what are the implications from your own standpoint? And what do you think that the president should be doing right now in this matter?
Well, you're right. I'm not a lawyer, and I try to steer away from making legal arguments because I'm not equipped intellectually to do that. Even if I am, I'm not licensed to make those kinds of pronouncements. So I leave the legal judgments to Mr. Afolabi and Mr. Kalu. And as I said earlier, I really have no partisan interest in how this case turns out. Frankly, either way, whichever way it goes, for me, I'm just going to be like, okay, that's just another political development in my country. And how the Supreme Court rules is frankly up to it. And I said in an earlier appearance that we have a Supreme Court that is frankly not predictable. I had used previous precedents there, as a basis to guess how it might rule in certain cases and had been disappointed. And frankly, one of the things that broke the camel's back for me was when the Supreme Court said, that was this year, that former Senate President Ahmed Lawan, who didn't participate in the primary election, somehow was qualified to represent his senatorial constituency. So I really, think that it's not worth anyone's while to predict or speculate how this Supreme Court is going to rule on any issue. But what for me this issue centralizes in our consciousness is the importance of comparing traditions of different countries and different cultures and trying to understand the basis for the comparisons. I initially thought that Bola Tinubu probably didn't graduate from CSU, and that was my motivation for finding out on my own, out of my own curiosity. I found out, and this is not the first time I have done that. When Goodluck Jonathan was accused to have also forged his doctoral degree, a lot of people say he did not have the intellectual, he didn't show the intellectual acuity that you would expect of someone who had a doctoral degree, and that there was a question about whether he indeed had a doctoral degree. There was a Freedom of Information Act request from the Premium Times to the University of Port Harcourt to find out whether indeed he graduated, and they rejected it. They said, no, we're not going to talk to you about that. He himself was asked, his campaign was asked, and he never gave any response. So that sort of provoked suspicion in the minds of a lot of people that he probably did not graduate. And I recall writing an article, a column, to say that he probably attended attempted to get a doctoral degree, got sidetracked by his commitments, and then abandoned it. But in the usual, typical titular Nigerian tradition, they started calling him doctor, and then it became part of his identity. And so he didn't want to tell the world that he didn't have it. That's what I wrote. But what did I do? I went out of my way, because I had a friend who worked at the University of Port Harcourt, and I said, can you get me a record of all of the doctoral dissertations written in that university from 1980 until the mid-1990s? And he did. And in there, I found out that he actually did graduate from there. I got the title of his doctoral thesis. I got the name of his supervisor. I saw the thesis abstract, and I saw the page numbers. And what did I do? Although I had called him to question the authenticity of his certificate, I wrote an entire column years after the fact to say, yes, he did graduate from there. That's me. Buhari himself, his school certificate had been surrounded by a cloud of suspicion. And I initially thought it was stupid to question the fact that he actually did. And then suddenly, when he wasn't forthcoming about producing his certificate, and there were all kinds of something, then something told me that this is unusual. Maybe he actually didn't graduate. He probably left his school, he wrote mock exams, didn't take the WAEC, and then got into the military. And it was plausible. Until later, we found out that, Abakari applied, and Cambridge University, that administered the result, released the result, and found out he actually did have a high school diploma. So there's a consistency. People sometimes are usually reluctant to allow their privacy to be pried into. And this is the consequence of a phenomenon that we call apopenia in psychology, which is the tendency for people to see patterns that don't exist when they are fixated on an object. They're going to look it up there and say, oh, and Obama would testify to that. President Barack Obama released his birth certificate, the life birth certificate, all the documents to authenticate his citizenship of the United States. And people look at that and say, can't you see that margin there? Don't you see the lettering here? That's not legitimate. To this day, a huge percentage of Republicans still believe that Obama did not graduate. Was not born in the United States. So it's an opinion. People will look at, I remember when I was growing up with Yoruba kids, they would look at the moon and they would see the photo of Obafemi Awolowo, and they saw it, and we'll sit there and say, no, we don't see Awolowo here. But they say, no, that's Awolowo. They believed it. And sometimes when I got my mind into it, I'll say, maybe that's him. And you raised question about whether Tinubu did not satisfy his English language requirements and math and reading, but that's not true. I actually did read the entire document. It indicated that he passed. And so, but someone is looking at it, and I see how they could see that, because the marking showing that he passed sort of went into even the area that said he did not pass. So there are three options,
all right,
mistake, and all of that. So when you look at any document with intently, you tend sometimes to see patterns that don't even exist, particularly if you're already predisposed to go into certain directions. And when I saw that it has online that he did not satisfy the graduation requirements, I said, is it the same document that I saw? And I had to go back to those documents, and I saw that, okay, I see where that is coming from, but no, he did pass. And there's an audit that usually takes place before you graduate. In 1979, there was an audit that showed that he passed the English, math, and was reading. So for me, this has been very enlightening for me. It just shows how people, we call that selective exposure, selective perception, and selective retention in communication scholarship, that our predispositions, our biases sometimes affect our perception of reality. You see the same thing, the same object, but the way you are wired makes you see something different from.
All right.
And I think I have an advantage because I really don't have any emotional investment in how this turns out either way.
All right, Prof. I'd like to take just about a handful of people, because I'd like us to wrap up quickly on this podcast. I'd like to get the views of maybe 3 persons on Twitter Spaces, on X, and get what your views are. If you can make it as quick and as sharp and as straight to the point, so that we can get what your own view is. Let me begin by the first person I saw is our hand up in the Twitter space. It's Oma Ninja. Your mic is on. Please, you can go ahead and give us your view. Oma Ninja, please go ahead. I think there's an issue with get him to speak. But as that is being sorted, I like to get the speaker's closing thoughts before we wrap up. Mr. Kalu, what are your closing thoughts on this matter?
Very simple. Our law says in section 137, sub 1J of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, that a person shall not be qualified to run for the office of the President of Nigeria if he has presented a false certificate to INEC. In this matter, the Supreme Court has held that a certificate certifies the content of a document as the true position of the content. Today, what Tinubu submitted, can it be said that it certifies the true content of that certificate? The answer is no. Because I asked Owolabi or Afolabi to read to us a particular paragraph in the other deposition where Chicago State University deposed that that certificate submitted by Tinubu to INEC was issued by that school. Till now, he has never said a word to it.
Right. Sorry, apologies. I'm glad enough to have people speak on Twitter space. Oma Ninja, I see a few hands, Adi, Saogo, and a few people. Oma Ninja, if you are ready, please go ahead. All right, I don't know. There are a few people who are being allowed to speak. If you are able to speak, go ahead. Let's get you to speak. Nimbo, are you able to speak right now? All right. I'm just trying my best to ensure that we are able to get people to speak on the podcast. But please, finally, if you can conclude your thought, Mr.
In a
Kanu.
minute. So in our jurisprudence here, once the certificate you submit to INEC is not the original certificate and there is forgery on it, it disqualifies you. That is our law. The argument.
Sean, we can speak now. This is Saga.
Okay, sorry, just a moment, please. Adesaogo, please. Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Adesaogo, since I can hear you now, please go ahead. This is very important for us. Your mic is on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sean, for granting this audience. And thanks, Mr. Falabi and Mr. Kali for joining. So I have read the entire document and I can confirm a few things from what I've read. The first I can confirm is that I don't see any basis to claim forgery or to even allege forgery. What Mr. Caleb actually said was that the certificate that was issued that Tinubu submitted to INEC, he couldn't authenticate it because they don't have a copy of it and because they don't have any records of it. And that's also because nobody currently in the registry office, in the registrar's office at CSU was present in the 90s when that certificate was most likely issued. Why do we know that the certificate was issued in the 90s? Because the certificate, according to Mr. Caleb, and if you just check out the exhibits that were submitted, exhibits 8 and CSU 8, 9, 10.
No, 9 and 10.
Is
9 and 10.
Okay, 8, 9, and 10 is consistent with Mr. Tinubu's certificate. The only difference is the fact that Mr. Tinubu's own, the INEC diploma, contains the word honors, which shows that Tinubu graduated with honors. The same format, the same signatories on INEC diploma is the same signatories on the certificates issued in 1998, 1999, and certificates issued in 1999. Same format, same language, same signatories, right? But they don't have a copy to authenticate. They don't have a copy of those certificates, so they can't authenticate it. But one thing we know is that certificate that was issued to INEC is consistent with what was issued by CSU in 1999. That's the first thing. The second thing to also note is that the certificate that was issued to Mr. Enahoro, although it was presented to Mr. Enahoro by the current registrar, Mr. Caleb, must have been issued in the 2000s. The date on it is actually wrong. It said the date is June 27th, 1979, right? And it clearly said that was wrong. Why? Because it was not consistent with their own records. Mr. Caleb confirmed this on page 40 or 41 of the affidavit, that the date on it was wrong and it was a clerical error. However, in confirming that, he also confirmed that the date on the one that Tinubu submitted was correct, right? Which was 22nd of June, 1979. So according to Mr. Kalu, if you are claiming forgery, that means that the certificate was not consistent. The information on the certificate itself was not consistent with the records. That is completely not true. Every information on the document that Tinubu submitted is consistent with the information that CSU had, and Mr. Caleb actually confirmed that. If anything at all, if there was any inconsistency at all, if there's any wrong certificate, that was the certificate that Mr. Enahoro received, right, from CSU, which they confirmed that the date on it was wrong.
All right.
Now, just one more point, please. One more point, please. Now, a lot has been said about the questions that were asked to Mr. Caleb by Atiku's lawyer, saying that, okay, did you ever issue any certificate with this format in 1979? And he said, no, we didn't issue any certificate with that format, in the format of the INEC diploma. That is true. Did you ever issue any certificate with the signatories in 1979? He said, no, we never did. That is also true. But mark the word, dated 1979. The date of issuance is not 1979. The date of graduation is 1979, not the date of issuance. So it is true that certificates that were issued in 1979, in which case that were printed in 1979, do not agree with the format or the signatories of the one that Tinubu submitted. But that doesn't make it fake.
All right.
Right? It only means that it wasn't issued in 1979. But the dates, so the format can change, but the graduation date itself remains 1979 and is consistent with what was issued to other graduates in 1999. So I don't see any basis to allege forgery. I don't see any basis to even claim it was forged in the first place.
All right. Let's get another person's view, and I like this to be quick also. I see Uthman, I see Dos Santos, I don't know who, Nimble. Is Nimble still here? I imagine Nimble is a lady.
Sure, I was here first. You know you called Oman Niger.
Okay, just for a moment. Let me take Oman Niger because I think I called him earlier. So Oman Niger, you have the floor.
Oman Niger is of the same view. I think we need to have alternative views because otherwise everybody will just be speaking in one direction.
All right, just for a moment. Is it Malam that is speaking right now?
Yes, Malam.
Malam, go ahead. Let's get your own view.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So my point here is
hold on, guys. Let's allow Malam to speak.
Down.
Yeah, just hold on, guys.
Everybody will speak.
Let's allow Malam. Let's hear Malam's views.
Yeah, I'll be very quick. So in terms of, I'm just going to go straight to what Tinubu should be doing. You see, I don't think you should believe anybody or take anybody seriously that is trying to say what we saw in the deposition is not what it is. The first action step, if Tinubu is truly innocent, is to take legal step against the university that has brought this, as predicted, the irreparable damage to his image. Because obviously, we can gather here now about a handful of people and speak. Millions of Nigerians already have, this information that this was forged. Chicago State University repudiated the certificate. So that's number one. Number two is the fact that you see all these cultural differences, that narrative is funny to me, honestly. I don't think I like it very much. Because when Tinubu submitted the certificate to INEC, he didn't say it was a ceremonial certificate. And let's also not forget that the date of birth on that transcript is 1954. The date of birth of Bart, according to INEC, is 1952, right? So, and if he wanted to also prove that, the certificate is ceremonial, anybody can come up with a certificate. So why not put in something that will not be controversial? Why didn't he provide the transcript?
To set the record straight.
So I'm not going to... Exactly. He should have provided the transcript to INEC.
Is the transcript not available?
No, can you just not, don't interject. Calm down, don't interject. We are talking about what was submitted to INEC. So what is abundantly clear, I don't know what every other person is saying, I don't know who said they read something. What is abundantly clear is that, in so many, the features of that certificate was described, under oath by the lawyer, I think Louis. They talk about the logo, they talk about the signatories. They even went as far as talking about there was no board of trustees, as at the time, Tinubu was there. They brought out templates, samples of what was issued in that year, and they made it abundantly clear that that certificate was not from them. People had talked about third party. Who is this third party? What is the name of this third party vendor? Right? Doesn't the third party vendor have a name? I think the burden of proof has now shifted to the Ashiwaju's camp. All these stories are not necessary. You just need to prove that you got this certificate. Where did you get it from? And then sue the person who has defamed your image.
All right.
And let's not
Malam,
all this twisting facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Malam. Let me get Oman Niger because I called him earlier. All right, Oman Niger, you have the floor now. Yeah. Go ahead, quickly.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so first of all, let us criminal. So it is beyond reasonable doubt. The burden of proof never shifts. Let us not be deceiving people. And then, you cannot categorically tell us where in that document, the same question Mr. Kalu posed to Mr. Afolabi, that same exact question, he should read out the line where CSU said the INEC diploma or certificate, whatever name you want to call it, did not originate from them. He should read out that simple line. The thing is, we are talking about burden of proof. It is on you to prove. The former Vice President Atiku is paying a premium for his lawyers to prove that Mr. Tinubu forged the certificate. They are not supposed to come and tell Mr. Tinubu's lawyer to be giving them information that is not in any of the court processes or in the deposition by saying, but Shebi Tinubu said this one in Chatham House now. You know, you cannot fish for information like that. I don't even understand. See, they should do their own job and prove, not for Tinubu's lawyer to come and prove otherwise. The burden of proof is on them. And the university in question categorically said something. They said, we do not have the authority to authenticate this certificate or whatever, given that it is not in our possession. What I understand from that too is that, let me just give this analogy. You take a 1,000 naira note, you photocopy it, and then you take that photocopy to the Central Bank of Nigeria and ask them, please, can you tell me if the 1,000 naira note that was photocopied here was original or fake? They will tell you, we cannot authenticate it because we don't have that note in our possession. That is what I understand by that submission. It is simple. I don't know why these people are trying to play on the intelligence of Nigerians. They cannot read it out the same way they asked other people to read it out. Where the CS, sorry, let me just round up with this last point. Where the CSU said that they did not issue the INEC, the documents that President Tinubu submitted to INEC, the burden of proof is on them. It is not a moral argument. Atiku Abubakar is spending money in courts. Let's see his money show. Tinubu is not going to help them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mazi Nzako at Ike Pisano, right? I don't know if I get your Twitter handle right. Mazi Nzako, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sheung, and good afternoon, Nigeria.
Yeah, it's actually night here. I think you are in some part of America. Your time zone is different. So, but please go ahead quickly.
So, I listen to so many educated young Nigerians speaking on this platform, and I am beginning to question myself. Don't we even we don't even know who to believe and who not to believe. If somebody said, I got my high school certificate in 1970, when the school is not in existence, what argument are we still making? Is that person not a serial forger? Has that person not been forging certificates even before the CSU? So, I don't know why we are playing around. The worst thing that can happen to Nigeria is to continue to believe these lies, because they are all lies. You have 2 dates of birth, it's a mistake. You have 2 different certificates, it's a mistake. Everything is a mistake. How? How is that? The school he attended in Lagos is also a mistake.
Martin Zako, thank you so much. Don't let it tire you. We are on the matter. Nimbu, let me get Nimbu to talk. I imagine that she is a woman, a female, and let's hear the voice. Oh, he's a man.
You got it wrong.
Okay, well, go ahead anyways. Let's get your intervention quickly.
All right, thank you, Sean, for letting me speak here. Good day, everyone. I've listened on both sides of the aisle, and I've also read the transcript. And if you want to be sincere, going through the transcript, you will know what ensued, and you'll come to a conclusion that the certificate was forged, which was the issue Atiku took up. But my own, what I just want to contribute about this is two things. One, we have a precedent that is being alleged to have forged this document. He has no respect for the citizens. He has not come out. All the old gossip, all the old people that are speaking for him. If you allegate, if somebody is pressing a charge against you, come out and speak, right? He has not come out to say, oh, this is the story. This is what happened. But people, I've listened to educated people here, they are speaking for him. Why will you speak for him? The other time, there was an issue with, I'll give a scenario of Peter Obi where he had issue of identity impersonation in the UK. He came out and spoke about it. When the Yes Daddy video came out, he came out and spoke about it. Let the president come out and speak for himself about it and say, okay, this is what happened. And we'll believe, all this is fine, minors are talking, they are talking trash. They were not there. They don't know what happened. Let the man come and speak. Secondly, the professor said something about if you're in the US, in the ceremonial days, blah, 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 blah. All those things are lies. If a document is forged, it's a crime. Whether it's ceremonial, you deceive the people to get benefit from forging a document. That's the intent. It is a fraud. I'm in the US here. I work in a financial institution, and this is how it works. You send your name down. They do a background check on you. You don't even send your document. Nobody asks you for your transcript. He was talking about you have to send your transcript. Why would they ask you to send your transcript? Nobody asks for that. They will do their own background check by themselves. And if you come out pass from your resume, when you say, oh, I had this, I had that, they will go check. They will go ask the university, did you pass here? If they say yes, then they give you the job. That's how it's done. Mr. Tinubu has decided to submit a document to INEC saying this document was given to him. The school has come out to say, we don't know where this document emanated from. That is a fraudulent intent. And lastly, for the other people, the minors that they are using your full chest, using your mouth, using your face, using your profile, leave the people that are benefiting from it. They're getting money. You're not getting money from this, but you're using your face, your identity to support fraud. Remember, the internet does not forget. It does not forget. Tomorrow you apply for US visa or student visa. They do background checks. Nowadays, they want to come to the US, there's something they call social profiling. They go to your social media handle. They investigate you. So when you get rejected tomorrow, you say your village people are worrying you. But you will not forget that what you said, they will never grant you visa for someone that is supporting fraud. So let's be careful. Let the owner of the problem come out to talk about it. Thank you.
All right. Let me apologies for every other person that wants to speak. I may not be able to take maybe more than one or two persons.
Yes,
Additional Adeniji Adele. Yeah, Additional Adele. Please, you have the floor. I think I tried to get you on earlier.
Yeah, thank you, Show, very much.
Well, make it very quick and yeah.
Well, of course. There are many points of verification which people are choosing to ignore, right? They have come here, they've said things like, oh, that the transcript, where's the transcript? But the transcript is one of the exhibits in that deposition, right? The transcript is available, it's all over the internet, right? Tinubu completed all his coursework, every single bit of his coursework, all his units complete on that transcript. Right, so he had completed all his units to graduate, and also you can check the social security number. It is on the transcript, both the one from Chicago State University and the one from Southwestern College. They tally, and because it's also already in the public domain, I normally wouldn't do this. It's 231-06-0595. You can go online now, pay less than $5, and check the information. You will find the information there. The name on it is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Listed on it is spouse, Oluremi Tinubu. His date of birth is there. His age is there. If you pay less than $5, you will see it there, right? So there's no case of forgery. As someone Nigeria and many people here have said, right, that certificate, the one that was submitted to INEC, is obviously a replacement, because when Tinubu even submitted an affidavit as far back as 1999, that the original was lost. The original was lost. That is the one issued in 1979. So how do they expect him to issue the original issued in 1979 after in 99? No, he got a replacement. So there's the original that is missing, there's a replacement that was submitted to INEC, and there's a third replacement that is on file with CSU. This is common sense. And they were all released at different times, so they will definitely have different logos and different signatories based on the administration and the template at the time. Then this question of third party, they never mentioned third party. As a matter of fact, in the deposition, I need to just quote this out, page 100. He said that they go off-site. They go off-site. As a matter of fact, he even said in another part of the deposition that if somebody requests, he said, so if somebody comes to you and now, after from 2021, and he needs his certificate, he said that we'll give it to him if we have it available. I'm paraphrasing. I said, if we don't, we will put in an order to the offsite. They will put in an order to the offsite. All these third-party vendor and all these things, if you go through that disposition, there's not one mention of third-party vendor. Not one mention of third-party vendor.
All right.
The mic at the point. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me take, I think I mentioned someone's name earlier. Let me allow the person to speak quickly before we we'll wrap up. Whose name did I mention earlier?
You mentioned my name earlier, afterwards you skip to...
All right, please, Dos Santos, go ahead quickly.
Yeah,
your intervention. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, good. Yeah, the thing is that they keep talking about the position. He mentioned this, he mentioned that. Now, the thing is, Tinubu, on his transcript, he was born 1954, because they keep mentioning human error. On his CSU application form 1955, his international passport 1952. Which one is Tinubu's date of birth? They should tell us if it is human error. While contesting to be governor in 1999, Tinubu filed with INEC, stating that he lost all his certificates while he was on self-exile. Instead, he swore an affidavit. Take note, he swore an affidavit that he attended primary and secondary school at St. John Primary School, Ario Lawyer, Lagos, and Children's Home School, Ibadan, from 1958 to 1964. Government College, Ibadan, from 1961 to 1971. Now, we now have another school that he attended that was not in existence. Government College, Lagos. Which of these schools did Tinubu really finish from? That is a question you need to ask yourself. I remember a public figure, Femi Aribesala. He said Tinubu did not attend his school. One of those schools that Tinubu mentioned. That means your president in 1999 lied under oath, because none of those schools that I listed was in CSU documents that they released to Atiku, except Government College Lagos that was not in existence. I don't know if Tinubu has become Nigerian Nicodemus, where he will enter his mother's womb and be born again. Now, you people have forgotten about the NYSC certificate. You people should tell me when Tinubu started bearing Adekunle. Some people will say, oh, he has different names. So are you telling me that someone can have different names in all his documents? Additional mentioned his SSN number. That SSN number, did you see Adekunle there? No. Only NYSC certificates. Come on, one of the things before now they talk about. What is all this?
All right.
Somebody,
all right.
Will you tell me that the NYSC...
Santos, yeah.
Can I talk, please?
Yeah. Dos Santos, yeah. Please, I need us to wrap this up here. Who just spoke now? Is it Dr. Femi?
Yes, please. Can I talk, please?
Please, you will be the last person. Just 30 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, please. Quickly, please.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to say thank you to Nigerians also for this opportunity. Now, I just want to say something. I'm not going to get into. What I want to say is this. First thing, we need to, as Nigerians, always be ready to listen to both sides of the aisle before we make or jump into judgments. And like Professor, the SN was speaking on Arise the other time, that a lot of people now make comments on legal issues, and you make comments as if you are experts. What I think, and I heard Atiku has actually filed this deposition as part of this case. Very excellent. Even if it's not going to have any probative value, I want Nigerians to tune in, let the lawyers have a conversation on that deposition. And I hope they are going to be able, or if they make the mistake not to bring this, whoever was his name, the registrar, to come to be cross-examined. So we can listen to both sides, argue this matter out before we rush into judgment. Now, as lawyers, we understand. As a layman, you can think that what you're seeing is this is it, this is the justice, is that, but it may not be as you see it. I'm not supporting any side. I'm just saying that, I'm very happy that Atiku has, put this as part of, has filed this as part of his case. I'm not sure what probative value is going to have. I'm not sure what value is going to have at the Supreme Court, but at least if the Supreme Court allows them to argue it, fine. Let them argue it, and let the Tinubu team also, let's have a conversation, a legal conversation on this online, and let everybody listen to the facts that are going to be adduced. So please, let's always take our time to calm down, listen to both sides, and don't cast aspersion. If somebody is not supporting your view, does not mean the person is not pan-Nigerian. It may not be as you think that it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's wrap up quickly. Mr. Afolabi, let me get your final thought.
Yes, very quickly, I would respond to an issue that was raised by Mr. Kalu. I would advise Mr. Kalu, perhaps when this is over, to take a look at exhibits 11 and 12, which now form part of the deposition. As regards exhibit 11, I would refer particularly to paragraphs 3 and 4. Exhibit 11 is the affidavit submitted by Mr. Caleb Westberg. An affidavit, as you know, is a statement on oath, which is punishable as forgery, as perjury, if it's found to be untruthful. At paragraph 3, it says, Chicago State University provided a diploma to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and subsequently provided a certified or official copy of that diploma. This is the instructive part. Both are valid and authentic diplomas of the Chicago State University. This is from Mr. Westbrook. Again, exhibit 11. And then at 4, it says, paragraph 4, there are certain differences between the diploma and the certified copy because all diplomas are signed by the current president/board chair. Then it goes further. There are also differences in the font and the seal of the diploma versus the certified copy because the university updated its font and seal after the diploma was issued. And then 5, the difference in the date of award of the diploma versus the certified copy is likely the result of human error. The graduation date on the certified copy is typed in manually by a person and can be inaccurate. In fact, it was shown under evidence that it was the copy that was submitted to INEC that bears the correct date of graduation and not the one that was given to Mr. Enaro Iba. And if you look at Exhibit 12, Exhibit 12 is an affidavit sworn to by Mr. Olajide Adeniji. Mr. Olajide Adeniji said he was in the same class and the same subject of study with President Bola Tinubu. And not only that, but that he also ran in a closely contested race against him for the leadership of Accounting Society of the Department of Business Administration /Accounting. And then he says, 5, I recognize and know that the person who attended Chicago State University with Bola Tinubu is the same person who is now the president of Nigeria. So that is all I have to say. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you so much, Mr. Afolabi. Professor Koregi, your final thought.
Well, as I said in my column today, people are invested in their opinions and their viewpoints and their thought processes, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. That's what gives our humanity its richness, the diversity of our viewpoints, of our thought processes, of our perspectives. So when I write, I don't expect that people are going to agree with me. Some people are going to praise me, some people are going to condemn me. And that's just fine. But for me, what has come out from this is the necessity for Nigeria to regularize the processes and mechanisms for recognizing qualifications from America. So going forward, anyone who claims to have graduated from an American university should not just be allowed to present a diploma or what we call a certificate in Nigeria. For official purposes, ask that transcripts be sent to Nigeria, and you don't have to be physically there. Just go to a website, fill it out, and let it be directly sent to the institution. This brought out the fact that there are so many people in Nigeria who are using false diplomas to work, because our system recognizes the diplomas issued here as the equivalent of the certificates issued in Nigerian universities. And there's a lot of violence to truth and authenticity in that, which this issue has given us an opportunity to correct. And I'll do a separate article on that sometime to say that the Ministry of Education and whoever else, maybe this Federal Civil Service Commission, should enact whatever it's called, a law, an edict, to say that qualifications received from America, and I think Canada, should be backed up by transcripts before they are accepted as valid. When that happens, these things are even, we're not going to have to deal with these sort of issues to ask whether this diploma is real or it's not real. And so for me, that's if there's any good thing, if there's any redeeming feature in this cloud of uncertainties over something, it's that we need to establish equivalence, and we need to do it formally so that people don't get away with fraud.
All right. Mr. Kalu, you've had your say. Yes. You've actually had your say.
I've not.
You've had your say. I've asked you for your final thought.
No, you have not asked me.
I did, but go ahead. You have 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You see how they deceive Nigerians. See what Afolabi read now. Affidavit. Not oral deposition. When I see him, we are talking about oral deposition. He's bringing an affidavit on a matter that even when the matter was on in the proceeding, they asked the lawyer to Chicago State University, can you authenticate the certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC? He said in open court that the university could not authenticate it. That's what he said. And I put a poster to him. Can you read a place where the school said or the post that they actually gave Tinubu that certificate? Till now, he didn't read any. Right. In my final conclusion, the case of Atiku Abubakar is not about attendance of Chicago State University. No. The case of Atiku Abubakar is the submission of a certificate that did not emanate from Chicago State University. That's the case of Atiku Abubakar. On the issue of attendance, if Tinubu did not attend Government College, Lagos, it means that he did not have any. That is the law. And finally, in 10 seconds, all this, they said it's a human error. You cannot, by oral testimony or oral deposition, contradict the content of a document. In law, we say that a document speaks for itself. Those documents speak for themselves. As the people who are by their oral testimony trying to contradict those documents were not even the makers of the document. So how can you now say it is a human error? Which human error? When the document itself speaks for itself. That's my final thought.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Akubalori. Very quickly, please. I need to create an impression. Mr. Kalu said something that was.
If you give him this platform, I will also say my own. Whatever he's going to say, I will respond to whatever he's saying.
All right, go ahead.
Whatever he says, I will respond to
Mr. Falabi, because this is in the interest of the Nigerian public. So we need to. If there is a clarification that needs to be made.
I need to. I mean, I would say that he said something that was rather uncharitable, and I was totally uncalled for by saying, "Oh, you see how this is how they deceive Nigerians." Number one, that's not my style. Number two, the affidavit was read as part of the deposition, so it forms part of it. And then, to your question, if you need me to put in the work for your team, I'm not supposed to be doing that. But since you asked for clarity, as regards what was contained in the deposition, I will provide it to you. If you go to page 43, it's right there. Page 43. says, the question was, so CSU did not issue the INEC diploma to President Tinubu in 1979, correct? The witness, no, not in 1979. What do you take that to mean? That it was issued, but it was not issued in 1979. Did President Tinubu say it was issued to him in 1979? No. So that's your answer right there. Please stop making. Let's not.
All right, gentlemen, we need to go at this time. We can't continue. Just like in law, they say there is always going to be an end to litigation. It cannot be endless. Thank you so much, gentlemen. But I most sincerely thank you, because it's been some rigorous, intense 2 hours of conversation, debate about this matter. The Supreme Court sitting and session on this is probably going to be a historic one of the most interesting cases that may change the manner in which our jurisprudence in Nigeria will go. Well, thank you so much. But just before we go, are these discrepancies more of innocent errors, or we're dealing with a clear case of cultural clash here, or even a worst case scenario, a case of fraud? Whatever the case is, it is a legal issue, and there is no way we can deny how technical the issue is. Did the president attend or graduate from CSU? The Chicago State University registrar, Caleb Westbach, said yes under oath at the deposition, but there are other smoking guns, and the scope of suspicion and controversy keeps widening. Other than the legal facts, there are moral questions that, if well answered, will help shape the legal and political landscape. Well, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said only the outcome of the Supreme Court case against President Bola Tinubu will end his political feud with him. And I think that's on the legal side. On the moral stand, what happens, happens. I leave you with that thought tonight, everyone. I must sincerely thank everyone for joining in. Professor Farouk Baragi is a media scholar and a writer of notes. He's joined us from the United States, as well as Mr. Afolabi, who is one of the lawyers, those who led in the case on the team of President Tinubu in Chicago. And of course, Mr. Kalu, who will also be in the forefront fighting on behalf, legally speaking, on behalf of Mr. Atiku Abubakar, former Vice President and the PDP presidential candidate. Thank you so much, sincerely, for coming on and discussing this matter. Thank you so much, everyone that has watched, tuned in, and onto all of these social media platforms. Until next week, when I come your way again, thank you so much. It's a Mike On Podcast, the platform for the independent man. I'm Seun Okimale. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mike On Podcast with Seun Okimbaloi. Mike On Podcast for the independent.